Alright guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about how you can predict and capitalize on Bitcoin's movement to the downside. Yeah, basically I'll be breaking down my exact strategy I use specifically to basically predict what Bitcoin is going to do and how it will basically dump to the downside. So we've been on in a bearish market recently. It's actually perfect to just capitalize on Bitcoin's movements to the downside. So for the people that need some proof, here's me on the 2 months ago. So July, I predicted Bitcoin would run up to 67 and then dump all the way down to 61K. So if we go to Bitcoin, exactly here before the pump, I literally even predicted the exact pump right there. I said that Bitcoin was going to do a little dump to liquidate all the longs, shorts, sorry, and there would be a continuation to the downside basically, which was this exact pattern right here. It went up and it went all the way down to 60K within 4 days. 4 days, call it 5 days. And this isn't the first time also. So this was on the 11th of August. I said the upcoming weeks is going to be a down trend for Bitcoin. And yeah, I'll literally go into everything. So let's go to 11th of August. Here, as soon as I saw this pump from the depths of from the 5th of August, oops, I immediately knew that this wasn't sustainable on the 11th. Bitcoin dump coming, and it did do a little pump to the upside before, but then slowly but surely it did dump to the downside. Okay, let's start off with number one. The most important factor that I take into consideration to understand if the market's gonna dump is, first off, you need to understand that the markets are basically not manipulated, but they're controlled by people that have way more money than us. And from my understanding is these people, they don't want to sell price at a discount and they don't want to buy at a premium, right? They always want to buy at a discount and sell at a premium because that's what makes sense. But retail does the opposite because they're powered by fear and greed. That's how the market makers basically make their money. They will want to sell price at the highest possible point, right? Why not? You get more money and you want to sell at the highest and you want to buy at the very bottom, right? Keep that in mind. If we go back to this exact chart, as you can see, price literally before it did the massive dump, it immediately tried to trap traders into thinking that price was going to break to the upside by sending price up, and they transacted up here. They started selling while people were buying. When retail sees a pump to the upside, they start buying, and when a dump like this happens, they start selling. A vector candle pump to the upside because dump money is buying to smart money who is selling. So the market makers, like I said, they buy, sell, and retail, they start buying up. And because retail is powered by greed and the market makers, they use logic and previous vector candles. You need to understand that the market makers, they understand that when they want price to go away from a certain zone or a specific area, they need to send it to the opposite way of where price is going to go. So for example, this is hypothetically speaking right now. If Bitcoin was right here, price was hovering around this range, right? If they want to pump price to the upside, they need to pump a little bit up and then they need to do a little retrace. And the reason why they do this retrace is because they want to grab more of Bitcoin. They buy it at the low, and while price does a little dump to the upside, to the downside, all the retails that's been prompting Bitcoin to go to the upside up here, because they're powered by greed and they see price already pumped a little bit, and they would say, okay, beautiful time to buy. They buy there, and then they see price going down, and they're like, oh my god, what's going on? Price is dropping. I'm at a loss. I'm gonna cut my loss and change a direction. They cut their loss. They start selling here. They start selling, and as they start selling, guess who starts buying? The market makers. And as soon as they start accumulating Bitcoin here, that's when it shifts up to the upside. And the opposite is also true. A dump to the downside, a retrace, and just a continuation to the downside. That's literally how it works. I just gave you the blueprint to how I've been able to successfully trade Bitcoin. So here, for example, resistance zone was the psychological range and also the 50 EMA on the 1 hour time frame. And as you can see, that you see this little pump, this green candle pump. This green candle pump towards a resistance zone is a perfect area for you to start running your shorts, basically. There's so many examples of this happening also, by the way. This one also counts, you know, and you can just see price dumps after, right? Yeah, basically here, look, pump towards the upside, stopping volumes, dump. Pump to the upside, stopping volume, dump. Pump to the upside, dump. Pumping towards resistance, you should start talking about shorting the markets. And the one that I really predicted very well earlier, that was also a pump to the upside. I just expected it to dump, basically. And so yeah, and another way that I figured out that Bitcoin was gonna dump from the highs of 58 all the way down to what it is right now was, so here's the daily time frame. And as you can see, there's this red vector candle block. And okay, by the way, this indicator is called Trader's Reality. Is it called Trader's Reality? TR_main. And basically it represents, the indicator helps you understand the volume within a candlestick. You can see a red vector candle. That means there's high selling volume. And if there's high selling volume, that means smart money is buying while dumb money is selling. Because dumb money is powered by greed and fear. So when there's a massive vector candle like this, believe it or not, but the market makers are buying, and they're gonna want to realize a return on their investment. So that's why price went up all the way to this zone. But we'll talk about that more later. Right, I'm just providing you with the logics. And as you can see, this is a vector candle block. It's very, 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 very important. Because as you can see, look, even on the daily time frame, you can see it bright as day. Price literally went down. It immediately went up, closed at the top at a resistance of this candle, of this red vector candle zone. And then it pumped all the way down. That's one reason why I thought Bitcoin was going to go down also, because it literally retested it. And then over here, I was like, it's going to dump. It's going to dump in the upcoming days. And that's just what it did. Over here, if you look down, so this is another red vector candle, as you can see. Okay, for example, I'm guessing, okay, if you look into the smaller time frames, you can see a little rise, retrace, continuation to the upside. I'm literally testing this live. I have no clue if that actually happened, but we about to check and let's see if I'm right or wrong. Okay, we can see a little bit of a resistance zone. Okay, not exactly. The 5 and 13 EMA on the 1 hour actually became basically the support zone, right? So not exactly that order block, but it is respected. As you can see, there's like resistance here, right? So let's try and find another one, then we can move on to the next reason why I think what's a good strategy to use to find out if Bitcoin is going to go up or down. Here, right here. Here's another one, so let's check it out. Here, right here. So this was the, oh no, this was the red vector candle zone, somewhere there, yeah. And as you can see, it became support. As you can see, resistance here, and it became support. And they always respect it, and it's always support also. Basically, these zones are super important, and even it works even on the high time frames. Okay, and I use this to basically figure out if price is gonna go down on the bigger time frames also. So over here, I actually expected Bitcoin to go back to the 50 EMA on the weekly time frame, but it did happen. But sort of, I kind of got shaken out by the little pump that it did right before it dumped. And I'm expecting Bitcoin to clear this zone right here, 44K. I think Bitcoin's gonna get there. Yeah, basically get there. So wait, let's do a little checkup. Does this or red vector candle zone work on the weekly? So it didn't really go to the very top of the red vector candle zone on the weekly time frame, but as you can see, right as day, bro, there's a little retest happening here, and that's your opportunity to basically load up on shorts and capitalize on this whole move. You know, very, 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 very powerful. This was a little you could probably get it shaken out by this, but you gotta wait for the confirmations. That's why. The other and last method that I use to be able to predict the movements to the downside is basically the psychological range. So let me pull something up. I'm gonna turn all of them on. Okay, so basically, psychological ranges, what are they and how do they work? So basically, I use the psychological ranges to understand that that's the fair value of an asset. So back to the point that I was talking about earlier, I was talking about how when price wants to shift towards a certain area, the market maker wants to sell at the highest possible point and buy at the lowest possible point. So the psychological ranges help me identify which areas are basically like, where does a market maker want to move from? You know? Because they're the fair value of an asset, I'd say. That's what people believe it to be. So let's just say psychological ranges are here. If you see a dump to the downside at the beginning of the week and they retest the psychological ranges, you can expect price to go down the following week. Okay, so a little example is, there's so many examples right here. Price went away from the psychological ranges, it came back. It basically, this dump to the downside create imbalances, pumped all the way back up again and then down towards it, and it became support, and then it shifted towards the upside. So look, another dump, pump, and then right here I would be cautious and I would be looking forward towards Bitcoin dumping to the downside, which it ended up doing, right? This is where the market maker says, all right, we've trapped a lot of retails. We're going short up here at the highest possible price point, which is a resistance area, and retail is going long there, believe it or not. And that's just how the business model works. If you want to know if price is going to go away from a certain zone, use the psychological ranges. They're the best. I'm not even joking. You can just look at this. Price always goes back towards it, but then pumps away from it also. So at the beginning of the week, psychological ranges are formed. It goes away from it. It pumps back towards it, and then pumps away from it again. That's just how it works. Also over here, you see, I'll pump towards the upside, a dump down, pump towards the psychological ranges again, and then away. It's a perfect way to figure out if price is basically price is heading. You know, another dump to the downside, retrace to the psychological ranges, and then another dump down. So these psychological ranges are very, 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 very useful. And you also, yeah, you just gotta make sense of it all, and you gotta really use the vector candles also, in my opinion. I think that's it basically. So if I want you to take anything away from this video, it'd be that number one is you need to understand what the market maker's mind is on price. Where do they want to send price towards? And it's easy to say in hindsight of where price is gonna go, but to make sense of it all, please use the strategies that I've already provided earlier. And then previous vector candle points are very important. So the ones that I showcased earlier on the daily time frame, as you can see, this zone right here, it was, and now, so yeah, here's the daily time frame. Look what's under the daily time frame. Price goes towards the top of the red vector candle on the daily time frame. That literally means that it's a resistance zone. That one candle on the daily, right? And it retests towards it and then pumped down. This is similar to what I said earlier, which was a dump, retrace, continuation. And the last, but not, the last thing that I use is the psychological ranges, of course. And yeah, I feel like that's it really. I also use the 50 EMAs. But that's basically how I've managed to predict Bitcoin many times. As not a newbie trader, I've been trading cryptocurrency for a while now, but I've basically applied this strategy to my trading not long ago, and it's helped me, you know, make decent money from trading cryptocurrencies. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this was some value to most of you guys, or a lot of you guys. And yeah, feel free to join my Telegram group in the link in description, and like and subscribe.